Good evening from PLUGHITZ Studios in Largo, Florida. I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And we are here with episode 516 of F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, for December 23rd, 2018. This show is a proud part of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. This week, Apple's quality control is folding. The Xbox One is closer to a PC, and T-Mobile isn't ready to hijack your TV just yet. Wherever you are and however you're accessing our show, whether it be on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+, on any of our live streaming platforms, livestream.com, Twitch, Mixer, Periscope, Facebook Live or YouTube Live, on any of the podcatchers, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the Podcast Play app on the Windows Store, or a myriad of others like TuneIn Radio or Spotify, or of course on our apps, PLUGHITZLive.com/apps. Thank you for making us a part of your day. Like I said, this is F5 Live, Refreshing Technology, the flagship show on the PLUGHITZ Live family of content. We are live Sunday nights at about 9 p.m. Eastern. And we'll go for about an hour and we'll talk about the news of the week. There are two ways that you can join us. The first is live on Sunday nights by going to f5live.tv/join us. There you will see a number of chat rooms. You'll be able to chat with us here in the studio. Plus, you can also chat with each other. And right now, Mixer, Twitch, and YouTube look like the best to interact with us this evening. If you can't join us live, that's okay. You can always subscribe, like I said, on those platforms by going to PLUGHITZLive.com/subscribe, and there you'll see all of our shows, including F5 Live, The Pilch Point, and more. And with that, Avram, how are you doing?
Okay, not too bad.
Well, that's good. I guess not too bad is better than really bad.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right. Further progress on my machine, I will tell you.
Okay.
So now I kind of got it working, this RetroPie machine. I just had to figure out how to mount it's just not playing every game that I want, and the controller, the interface is a little annoying, and my joystick here is a little weird, like the knob slips off or whatever. I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
You know, if I just got the wrong one or got a cruddy one, or it just need to do something to tighten it or whatever. I don't know. But, you know, it's, my son was just playing with it. I just got it sort of up and running, but the Raspberry Pi is outside of the box, and the idea is that it's going to be in the box, so it'll be one piece.
Gotcha.
One piece that we can connect to the TV. But, you know, progress. I have to say that whoever made the RetroPie operating system that you use for these sorts of things, they really could have done a better job. It's kind of hard to set up the controllers, and it asks you for all these buttons that you don't necessarily need to play arcade games, and but anyway,
unfortunate.
You know, we'll see. He was having fun playing with it,
and that's really the goal. Is for him to have fun playing with it. It looks good too.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad. I mean, if you were to look closely, you'd see the joystick isn't perfectly centered in the hole, and so this little black thing here moves a little bit, and you can see. Also, I don't know. Are retro joysticks supposed to be this clicky? I don't know.
Yeah. It's not unusual for like an arcade fight stick or something like that to have a super clicky joystick like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I don't know. I have to go back to an arcade and see if in a real arcade they click like that.
Right.
I don't know. But you know, it's cool. We'll get it working. It's fun to have a project. That's why I'm doing it. It's a fun project, so it also just has its share of frustration, but it's a fun project. You know,
it's those little challenges that you have to overcome that make it a fun project. Not big ones. Big ones make it infuriating, but you know, the little things like making sure things are centered and
Right, exactly, that kind of stuff. So, like,
Yeah.
one thing I will tell people, this is the bottom here, is if you were going to do one of these, make sure that you get the kind of buttons that have these scroogey things on them to screw them into the hole to make sure they don't fall through. Because the joystick set that I had those buttons, a few of them lying around, that's what I used.
Mm-hmm.
The joystick set that I bought on Amazon, I should not have bought that one because it has buttons. The joystick, I don't know. Time will tell whether this joystick is decent. But the buttons the red buttons that came with it, I couldn't use because they don't screw in. You have to push them in, and so they just fall right through the hole when you push them. I guess if I was able to have made a much smaller hole or something, then they might have stayed. But
yeah,
But having ones that are reliant on you not pushing them, having buttons that are reliant on you not pushing them too hard is a pretty poor strategy.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of the opposite of what we're going for with something like that. Because, once you get started, you're going
to... Right, exactly. So, if you push it too hard, they fall through.
Yeah, that's no good.
Not good.
Yeah, that's far from ideal, I would say. I've been working on a little project too, something that Avram's aware of. It's a product that I've been trying to get off the ground for a little while, and we took a bit of a technology cut and kind of started over this week. Now that the prototype has been pretty heavily tested, so I've been doing the same thing. My kind of break time has been dedicated to project, and I can't wait for that. I can't wait for you to see the non-prototype version. I think I showed you the prototype at CES last year, but it's coming along, and I'm enjoying that. I will be able to talk about it publicly a little bit more in the future. For those of you who are watching and not listening, I apologize that I am back to looking to my left. We had a piece of equipment go bad this week, and so Avram is not right above the camera this week. So I will instinctively look off to my left where I can see him, so I apologize for that. If you see me looking off in weird directions, that's why. But anyway, let's get to some news tonight. This week's Nifty Gifties on F5 Live is proudly powered by the Microsoft Store. Some of the Black Friday deals are back, including $100 off on the Xbox One consoles, both S and X. There's a number of consoles that you can customize what they come with. You can get deals on the accessories like extra controllers and Xbox Live and Game Pass and stuff like that as you build your bundle, which is really cool. They've also got things like the Surface Pro 6 is $330 off right now, which is a pretty great deal. And then if you don't know what you want, you can always get a gift card and then have it delivered to your email. And that is a great last minute because it is the 23rd right now, and by the time you're listening to this, it might be the 24th. So you can find all of that stuff and a whole lot more by going to f5live.tv/Microsoft. So, as has become a bit of a joking tradition, speaking of Microsoft, let's talk about Apple. Oh my. So, I think we all remember a time when Apple was run by a maniac named Steve Jobs who was obsessed with every detail of everything he ever touched. For better or worse, he was definitely obsessed with everything that came in front of him. There's a pretty famous story of him being unhappy about the shade of white on the iPhone 4, and that is the reason why it took 8 months from the launch of the iPhone 4 before the white model came out, is he couldn't find a white that he liked. Skip forward to today, the company seems to be a little different. in their attitude towards products. We've seen, a number of things over the years. The iPhone 5 after Steve Jobs had left the company, it started to ship with some little scratches on it. We remember the iPhone 6 had a bit of a bending problem where if you put it in a back pocket or something, you might bend the phone. This week, it turns out that Apple has combined those two problems into one. And a whole new interesting thing where some people particularly on the Mac Rumors forums, which seems to be the place where people are going to complain about this, are saying that they received the new iPad Pro and the device in the box was bent. And there are photos out there showing a very slight but still noticeable bend to the bottom of the body. And some people say that they got it that way. Others claim that they believe that it happened after they put it in a backpack or something like that. As it turns out, the former is the reality, because Apple has confirmed that, yes, models do ship that way, and they consider it normal, and they're fine with it. Which is, to me, a far cry from, this is the wrong shade of white, get out of my office. The idea that Apple would ship a product like this and then be like, it's normal, is so weird to me. And this is me as not a particular Apple fan, having a Surface Book sitting in front of me. And even for me to think that Apple would ship a product like this and be like, yeah, it happens, is so bizarre. Don't you think, Avram? Isn't this like a big culture change?
Actually, I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so. Because what you just described with Steve Jobs was him being angry at his own production team, right? His own designers.
Sure.
But let's not forget, he also, when there was a defect in the product that made it hard to get reception, he also told people they were holding it wrong.
He blamed it on somebody else.
Right. So the fact that there is a defect in production now and people are getting bent iPads, that happened that kind of thing happened under Steve Jobs also.
But in Apple, like in Steve Jobs' defense, it was a design. His thing was his own thing, and he tried to push it to somebody else, which I thought was weird. But in this case, it's a manufacturing flaw. It's literally somebody else's fault, and Apple's going, yeah, that's us, that's fine. Which is kind of weird. Since Foxconn manufactured it, they're like, yeah, it's fine.
Well, remember, they can't really. If they're the ones making it, they're making. It doesn't matter if it was me. If they have an OEM making it, they're responsible, and they know that. True. They can't pass it off and be like, "Oh, sorry, folks. We'll scold Foxconn not to do it again." It's. I wouldn't. No manufacturer, no OEM wants to talk about the fact that they use manufacturers.
Right.
They don't want to talk about the quality levels. They don't want to talk about how they have different parts may be made in different places. That they may actually be using different screens depending on which one you buy and things like that, because they have to have multiple sources and things like that.
Different keyboards.
Right.
Had to get that out there for you.
Yes, exactly. So that kind of a thing. So I don't. Yeah,
because Apple sources screens from both LG and Samsung, so even their screens aren't standard.
Right. So, I don't know what to say, but I'm not. Yes, it's poor quality control. Yes, the company should do something about it, but at the same time, I'm not surprised. It's not that completely out of character for Apple to do what a lot of manufacturers would do and say, like, well, you know, not everything comes out the same. I think one of the dirty little secrets that I learned well, I knew it before, but was made really clear to me this last year with what happened to me with my ThinkPad that I bought, and a lot of people see is these. You would think that electronics, unlike, say, wood furniture, where maybe it's made out of a piece of, real tree or something that might be a little different color.
Sure.
Or, you would think that, like, electronics would be something where you could take, 10 of the same product, and put it side by side, and them to be indistinguishable from each other,
right,
in every way. And that's not, unfortunately, a lot of times that's not really what happens.
Yeah.
Companies use multiple sources for parts. You may get a different keyboard than I got. You may get a different screen than I got. They're hopefully supposed to meet very similar standards, but that doesn't mean they're exactly the same.
Yeah.
And, now they shouldn't have a tolerance for things that are bending. But let's keep in mind that, unfortunately, people end up with a lot of things where companies say, well, you're just going to have to live with that defect. I mean, people have gotten, haven't had it happen to me too much, but, people have gotten things with dead pixels on them, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten screens with dead pixels on them, and the company's like, well, how many dead pixels was it? Got 2 or 3 dead pixels, not in the middle of the screen.
Sad story.
Live with it.
Yep.
So, that's, it's unfortunate. And of course, in the CPU world, we all know that not every CPU that is the same model is created equal.
Yeah.
In order to overclock your CPU to the highest possible speed, you might have to, like, world champion overclockers may have to go through several CPUs to find the one that's actually, actually able to achieve the highest clock speed.
Yep. The one from the right batch, manufactured at the right time and the right temperature at the right facility. That everything is just perfect across the line to be able to get that 0.1% of extra speed out of it. Yeah.
So,
and when I was at Radio Shack, I always reminded people that that everything that's mass produced has a failure rate on it, and your choice is either we mass produce and occasionally have a failure, or you pay 10 times as much to have it hand manufactured and, hard tested and all of that stuff before it walks out the door. So, and even then, FedEx or UPS could break it on the way to you.
But a failure rate is necessarily what you would see if it were this is where I think we're running the problem. What do you call a failure rate? Mm-hmm. If it's truly a failure, if it's defective, in a sense, no problem. Just send it back, and they should send you a new one.
Right.
Hopefully. Right. Or, if it's under return policy, bring it back. Whatever. Like, theoretically, things that are blatantly defective out of the box are the least problematic.
It's the things that are where the end product is.
It's not quite what you paid for, but it's functional.
Right.
So, like, is it? Can you?
Where maybe a component has failed. Not completely, but a component is defective, but that's not enough for the device to be defective. Dead pixels on a screen. That's a defective screen, but it's not a defective device.
Right.
Because that, we'll continue using Apple. That Apple wouldn't accept a screen from LG or Samsung if they tested it and it had dead pixels. They'd send it back, but by the time it gets to you, if it does, the device still works. You're fine.
Yep.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, so far, I don't know if they have any plans on addressing it. Right now, their official statement is it should not get any worse over time. So it sounds like deal with it.
You never know. I mean, pressure is pretty. They are definitely subject to negative publicity for sure.
Yep.
I mean, this is maybe before some of our. I hope it's before some of our listeners are born, which means we've got some younger folk listening, which would be great.
Yes.
But you may recall the Mac G4 Cube that came out in what was it, like the early 2000s? Was it?
Yeah. It would have. The G4 would have been like
late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah, because the bubble Macs were also G4s.
Right. So the G4 Cube, like people paid extra to have a cube shaped, and it was very pretty looking in theory. And then people got it and had cracks in it. And initially, the response of Apple, I think, was like, "Yes, but it works, right? Like, it boots up, it performs just fine. You just don't like the fact that it has cracks in the plastic." And I think eventually they had to do something about it because the negative publicity, and people were buying that for the aesthetics. So
and then the aesthetic was damaged,
right?
Because it was the exact same computer as the bubbles, but it was like 25% more.
Yeah,
and it didn't have the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. Technology sucks. Maybe that's no. Mass production causes things to be a problem. And, their stock price took a 15% hit this week after the report started. So they might respond to it after something like that. Who knows?
Do we know if that's because of the reports? Because a lot of companies took a beating this week.
Yeah, they did. Theirs was a little heavier, and they started later. But it may have been unrelated, but the timing was certainly right in line. So it may or may not be related. This week's Pilch Point on PLUGHITZ Live. Oh, I forgot where we were. It's proudly powered by Newegg. Whether you're building a new PC or upgrading an existing one, Newegg has all of the parts and pieces to make that possible. Processors and motherboards and RAM and hard drives and all of that are all available. Plus, they've got daily deals right now. They have a gaming PC pre-built with an 8th gen Core i7 on sale for about $300 off. They've also got last year's Surface Pro on sale, and some monitors and all kinds of other stuff. And you can find out all the deals and all the things that are available by going to pilchpoint.live/Newegg. All right. 2018 is coming to a close. We've only got a week left. And that means it's time to start talking about next year, Avram.
Yes. Well, if you think back, time really flies, but at the same time, a lot of things happened in 2018 in the tech world. I mean, there are a lot of things that didn't happen, but, look at the things that did. It was a very embarrassing year for Intel, for example, in 2018. Between having the Spectre meltdown stuff happen and then, what went on with their CEO and, failing once again to come out with 10 nanometer chips in volume. It was a rough year for them. But we also saw a lot of interesting progress, in terms of new components, AMD becoming more powerful. And here's what we expect for 2019. And I want to tell folks that this week on Tom's Hardware, where I'm the editor-in-chief, we are going to have predictions every day. It's prediction week. So we are going to have articles up about CPU predictions, GPU predictions, SSD predictions, laptop predictions, VR predictions, and finally my story, which I think we'll put up last, because it builds on all the other ones, which is 19 different predictions for 2019. And there's more that we could have. So a few highlights of things, I was talking about with the folks at the office that I certainly think will happen in 2019. First of all, we think that AMD will probably release a 64-core, 128 Threadripper processor. Ooh. Because it doubles every year for them, and they already announced that their server chip Rome was going to do that. So I think there will be a consumer available 64-core, 128 thread chip CPU, and there will be 7-nanometer CPUs from AMD, very likely. But 10 nanometers, Ice Lake, those chips that people have long been waiting for, because from Intel, if we see them at all, there won't be many. As this past year we did see, they shipped a couple of Core i3s into China that were 10 nanometers for Lenovo to use. But it was, the company has been on record as saying you may not see this stuff until 2020, and that's not good news, because it's been 6 years since they got to 14 nanometers, and that means a lack of advancement in processing technology.
It's been how long?
24. Oh, I shouldn't say 6 years. It's been, I think, 2014. Okay. So 5 years. It used to be every couple of years that they would go down a die shrink. In the world of GPUs, we think that AMD is going to also probably come out with new chips that will be somewhat more challenging to NVIDIA, new GPUs. NVIDIA seems likely to release to replace its mid-range GPUs like the 1050 and 1060. In the PC space, this is a bold prediction I'm going to make, but I think that the next Surface Pro will get USB-C. However,
I hope.
However, I will probably then write an article about why it should have had Thunderbolt 3. But I think it will have USB-C. I think we will see. I think it's pretty clear that we're going to see a third generation of Snapdragon-powered laptops. Those who've watched the show for a while know I brought on a couple of previous ones that were very underwhelming. But Qualcomm recently announced a new processor, the 8CX, that it claims will be as fast as a Core i5 Intel is today. We shall see. I think it's more dependent. Their success is more dependent on having native apps written that support their CPU without it having to do emulation.
And now that Microsoft has officially released wide the ARM target for Windows development, for desktop development, that's a pretty big deal, and leads us down the path to be able to make that happen.
Also, didn't Google say they were going to make an ARM version of Chrome? I believe.
Yeah. Yes, I had heard something about that.
Yeah, so I think that is one of the killer apps that it's missing. Is that a lot of people use Chrome. It's the most popular browser, and it doesn't run very well on the Snapdragon laptops because it's running through emulation. I think we will continue to see, in the world of storage, we'll continue to see SSDs get cheaper. SSDs that cost 10 cents a gigabyte will probably be commonplace in the near future, which means you'll be able to get a 1 terabyte for $100. Now that's probably for a SATA drive, not the faster NVMe standard. But nevertheless, all SSDs are getting cheaper. Right now it's a little pricey to get a 2 terabyte SSD. It's going to be very affordable, and getting, a 3 and 4 terabyte SSD will be within reach of people, which means hard drives are going to be less common in pre-built computers. Even budget ones will probably come with SSDs very soon, unless it's super budget, like a $200 computer, in which case it will also come with solid state storage. It'll just be in that cruddy eMMC memory that's sort of like booting a computer off an SD card or something. But physical hard drives, their days are somewhat numbered, although I think for people who need high volume of storage, like they want to have, 2, 3, 4 terabytes, and they only want to spend $80 on it, or for backup, hard drives will continue to be viable for a while. But one thing that won't be viable is Intel's Optane cache, which was never a great idea, I think, and that system that Intel's been trying to push for about 2 years now, where you could get like a 16 or 32 gigabyte cache storage drive, and it would make your hard drive a bit faster by caching your most frequently used data into the solid state storage. We've seen this idea for a while. It's a bit better than having a regular hard drive, but with SSDs getting this cheap, and not many people use opt-in cache anyway, I think that's one that is really going under. Finally, and we've got a lot more that we could talk about. I am going to say that the biggest overhyped technology of 2019 will be 5G. 5G, yes, in the future we will all have much faster internet, faster cellular, but it's going to take a long time before you actually have a confluence of phones a lot of phones that support 5G and true 5G connectivity on a network. So
not just little micro spots.
Right. So yes, I think there's like, what, doesn't AT&T have a hotspot right now that supposedly does 5G? Although they're faking it, they have planned to fake 5G on some phones by changing the indicator, that little thing in the upper right corner of your phone that says 4G or 3G if you're in a poor coverage area, to say 5G E, as in 5G evolution, because it's almost 5G.
Yeah.
So
that's that same crap that T-Mobile pulled with 4G.
Yes.
That we called faux G.
Yes. So that's the thing. I can't get excited about this because it is always more hype than reality. Like, yes, you want faster connectivity. Great. I mean, 3G was the bump from 3G to 4G was a lifestyle change. You could like actually stream video and actually download stuff. The bump to 5G, so far, I'm not sold. I mean, unless what it results in is significantly more reliable connectivity, because 4G is fine. Like for everything that I think most people do, even streaming video, streaming music, like surfing the web, playing games, 4G is really, really good. The only problem is when you lose it, when you're moving around. Like I'm taking the train to work, and some areas on the train it's zipping along, and other areas on the train I might even have the same 5 bars, but it seems slow. So, but if I'm in a spot where the 4G is good, it's not like I'm sitting there going, "Oh man, I wish this were a little faster." So, I don't know. I'm not that excited about 5G. I know a lot of people are. But anyway, whether you're excited about it or not, there's not going to be a lot to get excited about with 5G in 2019.
Yeah. I mean, even the talk that AT&T went live with 10 cities this week, even that is no. They didn't really. There's little micro spots in those 10 cities where they're testing some 5G capabilities, but it's not like It's not like everywhere you go you're going to have 5G. In fact, if you walk 100 feet, you're probably going to slip back down to LTE as it is. You know, there's only that Netgear Wi-Fi thing that you can get a hold of right now. They've got test devices, but that you can't get it.
Yeah, it's also just, I don't know. Far be it for me to say that there's such a thing as internet that's fast enough, but like I said, reliability and like being consistent is if it makes things more consistent, then that would be great.
Yeah.
But like, are there things that you would like to download on your phone now that you cannot?
No. I mean, for a total of maybe 30 hours a year, I'm in a situation where I wish that my hotspot was faster, but that's about 30 hours a year, and it's for a weird situation that most people are not in. That's when we're in a place where we're trying to broadcast and we don't have, the Wi-Fi sucks or something like that. And that is such a weird and special situation.
I mean, that's a good situation to bring up, but then I also would say if you were able to get, isn't like in a really good coverage area, which doesn't happen a lot, right? If you were able to get like 50 up and 50 down, which the technology I think 4G can do, like, would you be fine with that?
Yeah, if I could have that, but again, have the consistency, yeah, that would be fine. But I don't get 50-50 for more than a couple of minutes in a straight shot before it starts to kick out on us.
Yeah. So I guess that's my question. Is it that we need faster speeds or we just need more consistency?
Right. And, if the bandwidth is larger in general, the availability is larger, maybe that means, because, one of the things, the more pressure that's put on a cell, the smaller the cell gets. That's just the way radio works. So the more pressure put on the cell, the smaller the cell gets. So, if there's more bandwidth and our normal everyday activity is put less pressure on that cell, maybe they won't shrink and we won't end up with those places where we slide into HSPA plus or whatever. Because I've got some places that when, like downtown Tampa, when it gets busy, it goes from LTE to like HSPA or sometimes even 1X.
What really bothers me, and this has happened to me on a couple of different carriers, is I appreciate the honesty of that more than I appreciate a lot of times it looks like I have like 4 bars or 5 bars of 4G, but things aren't loading.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or it's still not behaving the way that the phone is advertising that it should. For sure. So you said that these articles are going to post throughout the week?
Yes, on tomshardware.com. Check out our homepage throughout this week. We will be publishing various prediction stories.
Fantastic. Well, it'll be fun to read all of the predictions, and it'll be fun to see how they come out at the end of 2019.
Right. I look forward to talking about this next December and seeing what thing I got right.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna, like, as soon as we get off the air, I'm gonna put a reminder into Cortana that our end of 2019 should come back to 163 or whatever your episode number is for tonight. Yeah. Because that would be so much fun. Oh my goodness. Well, I look forward to that, and I look forward to seeing you in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So exciting. Anyway, thanks for this, and I look forward to the articles. This week's Extra Life on F5 Live is proudly powered by Razer. All the accessories you need to up your game on both PC and on consoles. Whether you're looking for a keyboard and mouse for your PC or now your Xbox, or you need a great webcam with a chroma key built in, or you're looking for one of the many products that is RGB capable, not including car tires, which Avram posted about on Facebook this week, which was wonderful. Or a myriad of other products, including full systems. You can find all of that by going to f5live.tv/Razer. So, let's talk about Razer.
RGB, by the way, I just got to throw out a pitch here. We were running a little late on it, so it won't be up till probably the first week of the new year. But we at Tom's Hardware are building the ultimate RGB station. Like, not just like we built a computer with all kinds of RGB inside of it. We try to get the most RGB components for everything. And the most RGB keyboard that we could find was the Razer Huntsman. Because not only is the keyboard RGB, which many keyboards are, but it comes with a wrist rest that's RGB also.
Yep. Yes, indeed. And with the Razer Chroma thing, you can tie them all together, like all the Razer stuff and a bunch of non-Razer things, all to respond together. Like Philips Hue light bulbs and all kinds of stuff can all tie in together, which I love. And Razer has a new product in that category. A number of months ago, there were rumors that Microsoft was working on full keyboard and mouse support for the Xbox One, which would make it more of a gaming PC than just a gaming console. And eventually they announced officially, yes, they were working on it. And after a couple of months of insider testing over a couple of Xbox Insider rings, the support was rolled out to everybody. And this was all developed in partnership with Razer, and so we were waiting for Razer to announce their thing. Why were they involved in it? Obviously, they were involved in it because they had a product in mind, and they finally unveiled it this week. It is the Razer Turret, and it is definitely a unique product, especially unique in now. And let me explain what I mean by that. I had a keyboard similar to this, not of Razer's quality, but similar with some of these oddball features many years ago, and there was no way it was going to be a success. So the thing that they were up against, of course, was the fact that the Xbox is probably in your living room or bedroom and not at your desk where your PC is. So the keyboard and mouse experience had to be different. And so it is. The keyboard, my favorite thing, and this is the thing that I had a keyboard years ago that had, the keyboard has a mouse pad built into it that slides out from the right-hand side, and it's designed and weighted so that you can have the keyboard on your lap and the mouse on the mouse pad and not have it be all flippy-floppy while you're playing not at a desk, which I think is a pretty clever solution.
Yeah, I mean, this looks really cool. I should mention a couple of things just in terms of historical. Yes. There was a previous turret for the PC, though this one that I think that looks like they don't is not in stock anymore. The previous one did not have this kind of RGB keyboard. I don't even know if the switches were totally mechanical on that, and it was cheaper. And then Corsair also makes a lap. The previous turret is from like 3 years ago, and I think the keys look kind of flat. And I
don't think the mouse pad slid out. I think it was steady, wasn't it?
Right. And then Corsair, what was it called? The Dog or something? Trying to think of it. Corsair, it's like it's a lap board. Yes. So Corsair has something called the the K63 lap board, which does a similar thing to this for PCs. So it's not like Razer's looks like it could be the most elegant solution because it actually slides the mouse pad actually slides out of the keyboard. But like for example, the Corsair solution, like you have a keyboard, you have a mouse there in one unit that you put on your lap. So it's not. This looks like it could be the best one, but it's definitely not the first one to address the issue of gaming with a keyboard and mouse from your lap on your couch.
I actually had a non-gaming keyboard in the late 90s that had this same kind of setup to it. Even had the slide-out mouse pad, and it was from who the heck knows at this point because it was so long ago. I've probably got it somewhere because that's the way I am. But yeah, it's far from a new concept, but it's definitely the combination of things, right? It's the full Razer mechanical key switches, both for the keyboard and the mouse. It's the fact that they've worked with Microsoft on the way Microsoft sends game commands to reduce latency on the Xbox One and Xbox 360 controllers, so that they can try and mimic that in the keyboard when it's attached to a 360 or to an Xbox One.
Is there any reason you couldn't use this with a PC?
Absolutely not. It is fully compatible with PC. So yeah, not a problem. You could use it with a PC. Theoretically, you could probably hook it to one of those Steam machines if you're one of the 18 people who bought one and have it in your living room. You know, you could use it with that. You could use it with Steam Big Picture, any of those things, no problem. It's just, it's got things like it does the Xbox ambient light. Is that what it's called? Dynamic lighting feature, which is similar to the chroma, and the keyboard and mouse can actually respond to activities in the game. Plus, of course, the Xbox now supports chroma, so you can go either way with it. They went out of their way to make sure that the charge on the keyboard and mouse was high. 40 hours with the lights off. Important, 40 hours with the lights off. Once you turn the lights on, that is going to, fall. It is expensive, though, but not like weirdly out of proportion for a Razer product. It's $250 for the keyboard and the mouse. It's available for pre-order right now, and you can get it from Razer or Microsoft. We've got easy links in the article at PLUGHITZlive.com to make it easy to go find. There's a lot of promotional material, and it can be a little difficult to find the actual thing, so we've made it a little easier for you. I also like that the keyboard has an Xbox key on it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, you're not using your controller. How do you get the Xbox menu up? Well, there's dedicated special keys specifically for this. So, it is definitely a well thought out product. I am really hoping they've got one at their booth at CES because they're always there and they always take us on a walkthrough. I hope they have one because the way the keys are, like the super raised off of a flat surface, looks like it could be really cool or unbelievably obnoxious. So I would love to see this thing in action.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll have to try it.
Yeah.
We'll definitely have to try it. I am always hopeful. This is not really review fodder, but last year Razer brought like a giant size keyboard, like literally each key was the size of your hand, and I got to type on it a little bit, and I would love it but it wasn't set up to work. Like, I would love to be able to actually do a typing speed test on that. I, every time I meet with their PR people, I'm like, when can we like go to use like 10fastfingers.com and see who can type the fastest on it?
Oh my god. Okay, that visual was wonderful, Avram. Thank you. I'd love to see that. I'll challenge you in a full hand bangy typey competition.
Yeah, I mean, I used to think I was like fast with the keyboard, and then I ended up working with people like Andrew Friedman who can like repeatedly type like 110 words a minute, where I'm like still down at like 95 to 100.
It's like he's thinking into the keyboard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I used to be better when my fingers were younger. But anyway, with that, it's a whole new ball game because you got to use your hands.
Uh-huh.
So it's sort of like playing whack-a-mole or something. So.
It is a lot like that, and I think that is why I enjoyed your little hand motions, because I think that's what I was seeing.
Yeah.
Well,
so I don't know if they're going to bring that, but I'll be curious to see.
I hope so. That would be fun. But I really hope they've got one of these to put my hands on, because I've been excited about this. There's some little kind of tweaky things that I'd like to see how they work in real life. But I mean, it looks like a great set, and I cannot wait to try it out on an Xbox. I've used standard ones, but that's not quite the same. I want one that was designed specifically for this.
What games do you find you're playing the most, or people would play the most with keyboard on Xbox?
Probably ones that are cross-play. That would be my guess. Something like Minecraft would probably be hundreds of times easier, but I can't imagine needing the quick reflex capability for something like Minecraft. Maybe, I don't know. I can't figure that game out. Not that I don't understand how it works. I don't understand why it works. Which is a totally different thing. It's obviously not intended for me, and that's fine.
I'll put you on with my 6-year-old son, and he'll explain it, because I don't understand why he likes it so much either.
Yeah. Liam tried to explain it to me, and it didn't work because he was big into it. Anyway, yeah. I don't know necessarily what games would be our most cross-play. Maybe something like Fortnite, where you're literally playing against people who are on the PC. That might, give you some faster reflex capabilities. Games like that. PUBG. I could imagine. The shooter type games. Some people feel more natural with a keyboard and a mouse than a controller in a shooter game. So. Now, will everything support it? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that goes, and that's part of what I want to see is, if you go fire up just random game X, will keyboard and mouse work? And if it does, will it matter? Will it make it better? Will it make it worse? Will you not care? So, I definitely want to get my hands on one of these. This week's news from the tubes on F5 Live is probably powered by Riff Tracks. Make fun of movies, or let these guys do it for you. Mike Nelson, Bill Corbett, and Kevin Murphy, the former stars of Mystery Science Theater 3000, are back and doing what they do best, creating commentaries for Hollywood blockbusters and B-movie oddities like Charlie's Christmas Secret. I don't know why his face is blue. That scares me. Never quite know what I'm going to find during this promo. The way it works, for a couple of bucks, you download the MP3, play it along with your DVD, Netflix, Amazon, wherever you happen to have the movie, and laugh. They've also got short films, industry films, like Why Springs Are Important, or those educational films you used to watch in school are all available and made fun of. And you can find all of the short films, all of the feature films, by going to f5live.tv/rifftracks with an X. Oh, Facebook. I think when we look back at 2018, Facebook is going to be like, if there was a word cloud for 2018, I think Facebook would be the big word in tech, because it seems like every time we turn around, some new stupid idea of theirs is causing trouble. And this week, the stupid idea of theirs that's causing trouble is the revelation that they gave a couple of the big names in the tech industry special access to your data without disclosing to anybody involved, in some cases, that they had it. And in the case of Netflix, Netflix had the ability to add, edit, and delete messages from your Facebook Messenger, and they had no idea. Facebook didn't tell you they had that, and apparently they didn't tell Netflix either, because they didn't know they had this special capability. And it was all just because they wanted you to be able to send a message to a friend when you watched a movie that you liked, to say, hey, this was a good movie, I think you'd like it. What a unbelievably benign and honestly uninteresting feature to have created such a weird situation inside of Facebook. And apparently Spotify had some sort of very similar thing where you could share a song recommendation over Messenger, but apparently they also had the ability to like delete your messages, whether they created them or not. Definitely weird. And Facebook tried to clarify it and it didn't go well. Their clarification seemed to be a misunderstanding of both what Spotify and Netflix wanted to do and how to accomplish it. Thank goodness Facebook claims that the feature has been gone for 3 years, although Netflix discovered last year that they had access to this information and brought it to Facebook's attention. So that's less than 3 years if you're keeping track. 2017 is less than 3 years. So anyway, is Facebook gonna be just the punchline of the tech industry? Is that what they're destined to be? Uh-oh, I'm not hearing you anymore, Avram. You've gone quiet. There you are.
So Facebook, look, they're the biggest name in social media.
Right.
Right. So they are obviously a big target for criticism.
Yeah,
which
they're constantly under a microscope.
Which seems quite deserved. So, I wouldn't be surprised if you shine the spotlight on some other companies if you found more stuff like this. But yeah, I mean, this latest thing doesn't sound like a deliberately nefarious thing.
Yeah.
More like we wanted to make sure that our APIs worked well for partners, and they worked too well.
Right. We went bigger and better than anybody asked us to.
Well, I mean, maybe the issue was they could give these companies access to, like, maybe the companies want to make it easy to share the stuff, and they wanted to be able to get some context from your messages. Then all of a sudden, whoever it was didn't care enough about the privacy implications of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think the overall message that we're getting from Facebook is, that they don't care enough about people's privacy.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, it's just not high on their priority list. It's not one of their focuses.
Yeah, I mean, think about this though. I mean, with Facebook, you're the product. So like, you're not a client. You don't pay them. So if you leave Facebook, if a million people leave, if a billion people or have 100 million people leave Facebook, okay, then they have a problem. Yeah. But if a few people get annoyed and quit or stop using it, they're not going to be fazed by it.
Right.
Now,
it's until something causes a Tumblr-esque mass exodus.
you know what will cause a mass exodus from Facebook? Unfortunately, or fortunately, how depending on how you view it, it won't be privacy concerns that cause Facebook to fall.
No.
If it falls, I think it will be. I think it will be not being able to keep up with trends. Social media is all about what's trendy.
Yeah.
Right. So Facebook has become a very utilitarian platform in a lot of ways because so many people are on it.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
So they go off and they try these little experiments, right? Like Facebook Paper was a fascinating experiment that was both very interesting and terrible all at once.
What's really hard to create is that feeling of like, oh, the young people are into this. The early, early social adopters are doing this. Now they did something right by buying Instagram because that was and they bought WhatsApp. So
they knew that buying Instagram was so important that they risked their IPO.
Right. So they bought out some of the things that really could have hurt them competitively. But that kind of thing tends to come from the ground up. So there could be another network that hurts them. But I think the general premise of what Facebook has, a place to communicate with your extended network of people, is kind of hard to, like, it's something that I think people want.
Right.
So Google Plus is certainly not going to be doing it anymore.
Right. Apparently, they're already starting to shut down third-party APIs to it.
Twitter is not really the same thing.
No.
So I'm not really sure what replaces it, unless people just want to say we're going to go back to emailing everybody. I mean, I kind of need Facebook simply because there's a lot of people that I use Facebook Messenger to talk to. And it's very reliable like that because there's so many people on it.
Yep.
So unfortunately, we can keep talking about these things, but it's not going to phase Facebook. The only thing that's going to phase Facebook is when it becomes, I mean, for a lot of younger people's mind, it is uncool. But when it becomes uncool and there's something else that is cooler, that is taking people off the network.
I was going to make a joke, and I was going to say we could go back to using AIM. And obviously the joke is that it doesn't exist anymore, but apparently it does.
See, but it's that, right? Like, because if you look at it, it's like where are people hanging out today? There was ICQ, there was AIM, there was Yahoo Messenger, there was Yahoo Mail, now there's Gmail. But honestly, the reason why one certain things displaced the other, I don't know that they were necessarily technical reasons. People just decided, hey, this is where my friends are, I'm going to go there. So the question is somebody going to create a network where it becomes more popular? This is where people's friends are. I don't know.
Okay. So it's called AIM Phoenix. I'm sorry. This is so funny. It's called AIM Phoenix, and the website is so 90s.
That's appropriate.
Yeah. It looks like what the old AIM website would have looked like when it started to challenge ICQ. Wonderful. Which they also then bought and then screwed up. Anyway, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I don't think privacy is the thing that'll hurt them. I think Facebook as a corporation has longevity. Facebook as a platform, who knows? Maybe one of their own acquisitions ends up being the thing that usurps them. Who knows? It's always possible that Instagram becomes the thing, and then, whatever. But it does seem that Facebook is at least good enough at watching the trends to be able to buy the thing that is going to become a problem for them and incorporate it into their empire.
You know what else I think? It's quite possible that they could at some point do a rebrand, sort of like Microsoft Internet Explorer becoming Edge.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we know this thing now has a bad reputation, so we're going to rebrand it.
Yeah.
Well, without necessarily fixing any fundamental problems, but I think that could happen.
Well, if you've ever used the Facebook business interface, it's way better than the consumer interface. Too bad you can't log in and see consumer stuff in that. I would actually use that instead. I think it's way easier to use. So they have the potential to be able to build something better because they have something better. So, they could absolutely do that. MySpace becoming a place for indie bands, right? Like, and Timberlake has done decently with it. I'm starting to see the logo show up on indie band like posters and stuff. So, you can, if you do a rebrand right, you can recover that. I think you're right. This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. You know your basic features. You know you get free shipping, sometimes same day. But you also get Amazon Prime Music for free as part of your subscription. Several million tracks available to stream. Prime Video, which I know is, I think, Avram's favorite feature of Prime, with TV and movies and documentaries and original and licensed content, even stuff from like HBO, available as part of your subscription. And my favorite is Twitch Prime, which gives you a free subscription every month, which you could use to subscribe to PLUGHITZ Live or any other channel on Twitch. And you get free games. And the free games change all the time, and once they're yours, and lots of fun stuff. I think my Xbox One controller has been hooked up to my PC lately more than to my Xbox because of all the cool stuff I'm getting from Twitch Prime. So to find out all of the benefits and to get a free 30-day trial if you don't already have one, or we've also got the ability to gift it to somebody, a friend or family. All of that is at f5live.tv/prime. 2018, if not the year of Facebook, if we're looking at that tag cloud, Facebook's probably the largest, and right up in there is probably streaming, because it seems like every time we turn around, somebody new is announcing some sort of a streaming service. And Avram and I have talked a lot on the show about why that's going to become real annoying for a lot of people real fast. But one of the companies that had already announced that they were going to get into the TV biz was T-Mobile. They wanted to take their Un-carrier mindset and try and apply it to a new industry. As it turns out, TV is hard. And so their project has been delayed until sometime next year. It was supposed to be in 2018. It is the 23rd of December. So as we said at the top of the show, if they wanted to get it done this year, they've got a week. They don't want to get it done this year, and there's a couple of reasons why. One, T-Mobile has said it's hard. It was a harder thing than they expected to be able to differentiate themselves. In particular, when AT&T bought DirecTV and started to bundle DirecTV with AT&T subscriptions, John Legere gave them crap for it. And so, how do you build a business model that doesn't run afoul of things that the CEO has already said about the competition? But how do you create something that makes people care about your new thing, right? It's the same thing we were just talking about with Facebook. How do you stay on top of the trends? How do you set this apart and make people want to use this rather than the... At the time when they announced it, there were like 3, and now there's like a dozen, you know, PlayStation View and YouTube TV and Hulu Live, and there's a whole bunch of those, Sling TV. There's a lot of those services now. So how do you make this stand out in what is now becoming a crowded marketplace? And when you combine that with the fact that their upper management has spent the last 6 to 9 months pretty heavy into the Sprint acquisition, I understand how this thing got delayed, because I don't know how you set this thing apart, and I don't know how you tear the upper brass away from dealing with the government in getting approval for an acquisition. I don't know how you deal with either of those things, let alone both of them at once.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to manage to differentiate themselves at all, unless, but that's not going to happen in 2019. They use unless it's 5G.
Right.
That's the one area where 5G actually could be very promising for folks. Is Verizon is, I think they say they're going to start already offering like home 5G for your house.
Yeah.
So like if 5G
they offered home 4G too. So we've got it's got to work better than that. Yeah,
well, right. So if it theoretically they was enough bandwidth that they could give people like unlimited home internet and not, you know, I mean, yes, people have unlimited phone data now, but they do things to try and throttle people, because all the networks do, because they say, hey, we can't have people using like hundreds of gigabytes a month.
Right.
But for your home internet, you kind of need to use hundreds of gigabytes a month. I mean, we all worry about data caps. So do I. I mean, because if you are data capped, how are you going to use all these streaming services?
Right. Exactly.
In 4K. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
So there's an opportunity for somebody like T-Mobile to bundle to make their TV service to bundle their TV service with 5G, and to basically become a cable company that.
Yeah.
But not until they get 5G rollout, where they can give people home antennas for 5G.
Right, for sure. Because we all know that once you walk into a building, it doesn't matter which one, your signal cuts out. It's why we all switch our phones over to Wi-Fi. It's just simply more stable. So, again, it brings us back to the stability issue. If 5G brings stability, great. If not, it may not be the exciting thing that Intel would like us to think it is. And to your point, I'm looking at my usage just for the settings I've got for the show for tonight. And as of where we are right now, just on the upstream from the production machine, that doesn't include, you on Skype and all the other stuff that's going on, I've got 18 gigs of data usage just for the 75 minutes we've been on the air.
Right. So think about that. Yes, not everybody has a podcast, but there's a lot of people Twitch streaming.
I was going to say Twitch is so popular right now.
And then let's put this another way. Even if you're sitting at home and you're like, "Oh, I don't podcast. Most people don't podcast. Most people don't Twitch stream." Although you keep saying that, but there's a lot of people doing those things. And then what about all the video calls that tech companies expect us to start making?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you make some now, but when you talk about things like what's the Facebook portal?
Yeah.
Right. Amazon. Echo Show. that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like now, those things I think have real potential to dramatically increase the bandwidth people are using, because now you have people who wouldn't go sit down at their computer to talk and maybe find doing video calls from their phone a little bit prohibitive or whatever. But now you've got that thing in your living room, whatever, and you're just walking around doing whatever and talking to somebody. Yeah, I think that could end up using a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah, and again, I know I'm an edge case, but you know, I'm on Skype video 20 hours a week. So, you know, I burn data like a crazy person. And while I may be an edge case, I'm not that far off from a lot of the gaming community. And, you know, we've got services like PlayStation. I don't remember what it's called. The company they bought that streams the games to your PlayStation. You know, you end up with stuff like that, and you know, Microsoft is working on one. Google's got theirs. You know, so even game streaming, physical streaming of games from the internet to your screen, is starting to become more and more of a norm. So yeah, bandwidth desire is about to go through the roof. So yeah, obviously having a cap on it would be a bummer. Well, that is our show. Thank you to those of you who joined us live. If you didn't, and you want to in the future, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, f5live.tv/join us. And if you did join us live and in the future would like to, you'd also like to subscribe to this and some of our other shows, you can go to PLUGHITZlive.com/subscribe, and there you will see all of our shows and easy links to subscribe on your favorite platform. If we're not on a platform that you would like us on, let us know. We're always looking for new distribution channels, so definitely let us know where you would like us to be, and we will figure out how to make that happen. We've got one more show this year next week, and we'll kind of be talking about more end-of-year-y things, I think, and we'll be talking about what to expect from CES, which I'm really excited about, and then I get to take the studio down and get it ready to go to CES. And the next show that you will see after that will be from Las Vegas. So, it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks. Always look forward to CES because I love hanging out with this guy right here.
Highlight of my show.
I guess with that, on behalf of the staff that's not here, I'm Scott.
I'm Avram.
And for those of you who it applies to, have a good holiday week. And we will see you guys back next week. Ciao.